Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us once again here at the Blue Lotus Meditation and Mindfulness Center for our biweekly guided meditation and Dharma talk. Welcome. Thank you very much. So today is July 21st. It is 6 p.m. in the Central Time Zone where I am in Minnesota right now. Certainly, if you're in a different time zone or if you're watching us later on a replay, it will obviously be a different time. But anyway, nonetheless, I am delighted to have you all with us in any capacity that you are receiving this transmission to help you learn more about the Dharma and practice it in your life where you can ease your suffering and ease the suffering of others as well. So just a brief announcement before we begin. Get my microphone over a little bit closer, just in case. Just a brief announcement or two before we begin. Our YouTube channel memberships, we offer those directly from our YouTube platform, and they are a wonderful way to help support us on a monthly basis. And all levels are only 99 cents per month. And then all of the income that we receive goes right into our programs. It doesn't go towards any salaries or paying anyone. It all goes towards serving the communities, right? Whether it's mindfulness camps for teenagers, whether it's community involvement or whatever the situation is. But so you can feel confident to know that your support is directly going to benefit you and the community as well as our Dharma Institute. And for that, you may be interested in taking a course or two to improve your knowledge of Buddhism, your Dharma knowledge, new ideas. Perhaps you're in recovery, or perhaps you're a teacher. There are a lot of different courses that we offer, and they're all low cost and high quality, where you can learn and explore more so you can develop yourself, right? Learn more about the Dharma and develop your Dharma knowledge and your compassion and empathy so that you can go about and when you interact with others or even with just yourself, with the kindness and the compassion and empathy that are much needed in this world today. So go ahead and check either one of those out, our YouTube channel memberships or our Dharma Institute. Directly right off of our webpage. You can find that at the Blue Lotus Meditation.us, and there'll be a tab right for our Dharma Institute for you to look at. So let's begin with our three jewels, where we pay homage and respect to the Buddha and to the Dharma and to the Sangha, which would be you. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. Sathu, Sathu, Sathu. So very good. So tonight's topic is understanding our ideas, our concepts and notions for right view. We all have our own ideas and concepts and notions of reality, of how we view ourselves, how we view others, how we view the world and society at large. And so what we want to do is try to understand where those views come from. And perhaps, right, not in every situation, but perhaps we may want to adjust our understanding so it aligns with the right view precept from that the Buddha gives us. And so to go along with that, our guided meditation tonight is on right view. And so let's begin. And go ahead and take a moment to settle your body into a comfortable position. You may keep your eyes closed, or you may close your eyes or keep them slightly open with a soft focus looking downward if you choose. Breathe in. Pause. And breathe out. And as you sit there or lie there, know that you're invited to allow a half smile to rest on your face as well. Lift your spine and allow your shoulders to soften. And soften your belly as you continue settling in. Breathe in. Pause. And breathe out. And let's meditate on nurturing and developing right view. And right view is the first quality on the Buddha's Noble Eightfold Path and falls under the category of wisdom. And right view is a quality we need to develop and nurture if we are to understand the path we are deciding to undertake. Right view allows us to see the world and existence and the nature of reality without delusion. And to begin to develop right view, we can ask ourselves, is our opinion of something or someone beneficial to them and to ourselves? Or is our opinion of something or someone harmful to them or to ourselves? To nurture right view, we understand selflessness and that no person is separate from their aggregates, or that all contaminated things bring about suffering. To nurture right view, we understand that all things and events are empty of intrinsic existence. And that no phenomena exists that does not depend on another, including the concepts and names that we choose to give. To nurture right view, we need to remove our ego, as it is thin and frail and prohibits us from clear understanding. And to nurture right view, we must develop our non-self so that we may remove the veil of disillusionment for clear understanding of the nature of reality. Go ahead and begin to open your eyes slowly and to orientate yourself before you move about. Okay, very good. Right view is much more than having a good opinion, right? Or a good idea about someone or something. There's a lot more in depth. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, because it's very important that we have right view before we make decisions, before we make actions, before we commit ourselves to a particular action or even holding a view or an opinion. But what is right view? Right? We know that it's the very first item on the Buddha's Noble Eightfold Path, and it falls under the category of wisdom. Okay, so there's two under there for right view. The other one is right decision making or right resolve. So it falls under wisdom for right view. And that's important. Right? Wisdom doesn't necessarily come with age. Right? Just because you're older or somebody else is older, perhaps your parents or a teacher, just because they're older doesn't necessarily make them wise. So it's important for us to have right view. It's an important, again, that's an important step of, or quality for holding right view, for wisdom. But right view may be considered common sense to some degree, right? Or even just an opinion, right? A quality or a wise opinion about something. And so at its basic level. And so we consider, is it wise or unwise? Is it beneficial or is it harmful? So that's a very basic level or understanding of right view. So when we make a decision, does it hurt someone? Does it hurt us or does it hurt somebody else? If it does, it's not right view, which will lead to, an improper action, right? A hurtful action. So we have to take that into consideration, right? And that's just the very basic level, right? Is it wise or is it unwise? Is it harmful or beneficial to another human being, including ourselves, or perhaps even to other sentient beings, right? There's still cows and dogs and pigs and birds out there. We don't want to hurt them either. That certainly brings about negative karma in that instance. But a more advanced or intermediate level for right view, excuse me, is selflessness, right? And it's not selflessness in the sense that you put everybody first, right? In that sense, right? Everybody's, needs and wants come before you. That's not, in Buddhism, that's not what selflessness is. We can also say it's no self or non-self, just like in that guided meditation. That's how I referred to it, as the non-self. And so selflessness in Buddhism is simply that no person is separate, right, from their aggregates, all of their components that make up you, right? You're not separate from them. You're certainly not separate from your arms and legs and your eyes and nose and so forth, but your thoughts, right? Your emotions, those are all what make you up, and those are your aggregates, right? Or parts of your aggregates, right? You collect them all together, and that's all part of you. But it's also considered as contaminated things, right? So if a decision or an action, and then what they mean by contaminated is that, is it hurtful or is it harmful, right? Was it thought of, right, prior to its existence? Was it thought of with love and compassion, right? Loving kindness, because contaminated things bring about suffering. So think about that. If there is an action that somebody takes or a hurtful thought that you hold, it hurts you and it also hurts others. So think about, and we'll talk about this coming up, especially when we get to like prejudice and so forth. When we hold those hurtful thoughts, it hurts others, but it also hurts us as well. And that brings about suffering. More advanced understanding of right view is that all things and events are simply empty of their intrinsic existence. And what does that mean? empty of intrinsic existence, simply means that no phenomena, right, exists that does not depend on another. Nothing just sporadically arises. There's always a genesis. There is always a seed in the beginning that results in its existence. You are a perfect example. You did just not, spontaneously arise. You came up, from the sexual activities of your parents, right? You didn't just arise. And so no phenomena, including you, right, exists that does not depend on another, right? And that also includes concepts, those ideas. So think about, where do we get our concepts or our ideas and notions? They come from something else, whether it's experience or somebody tells us or teaches or relates it to us. So, and we can trace that all the way back to infinity, right? So all things exist because something else, and it's had to create it. So think about that concept. It's very deep, right? That's a very deep understanding or realization that is important. It's vital to us understanding right view. But now we can focus a little bit more on ourself, right? The view of self, the big I, right? And the big I is beyond ego. That is when we are able to separate the conditions of ourselves, our understanding where our own ideas and concepts and notions come from. We set that out. You may even call it transcendental, right? That enlightenment period that we all strive and work hard to achieve. That's why we're here, right? On that path towards liberation. So the big I is beyond that ego. That is on the way to liberation and to nirvana. But then there's the little I, right? The little I, the lowercase I. That is our frail ego. That is the one that tells us we are handsome, we're good looking, we're not so good looking, we're, skillful, we're unskillful, we are, a great artisan, we're a poor artisan. It's all of the little qualities that we assume and that we think make us up, like those little aggregates, right? Because those aggregates can be on the physical side as well, right? Maybe my bicep is not so big, or maybe it is, right? And so our frail ego can lead us to arrogance sometimes, but it can also lead us, and arrogance is suffering as well, right? So we think about that. If somebody's arrogant, they're suffering from a frail ego, but so is the person who is extremely shy, afraid to go out, afraid of interacting with others, right? Because of somebody may say something. Maybe they don't like the way I dress. So that's suffering as well. And so that's all related to the little I, the frail ego. But no matter who or what we think, we always come across others, right? Our planet is filled with others. There are 8 billion others, right? And just the term itself, others. So let's think about this. The term others identifies someone that is not you. And it is true, right? There's a whole lot of people out there. But remember, right, that intermediate view of right view, the selflessness, that no person is separate, right? So we can consider that as well. And so what happens is, when we view others, and certainly the farther they are away from us, the less interactions that we have with them, we oftentimes don't view them the same as us. But knowing that others, people different than us, are no different than we are. Every single person on this planet has the same wants and desires. Every person wants to be loved, recognized, safe, secure, happy, healthy, live a long life, prosperous, all of the things that we want. Nobody wants to live in fear, right? Nobody wants to live in a constant state of alertness. That does terrible things for a person's well-being, always living in a constant state of alert and awareness. Think about that. How hard is that? Always looking around the corner, always suspicious of somebody else. And so that's why when we have right view, we understand that truthfully, we're all connected. And so when we have right view and understanding that connectedness, fear begins to dissipate. That veil of disillusionment goes away. It's lifted. I always remember that I don't know if it was my mom, but I remember seeing somebody saying it, smiles are friend makers, right? So if you smile at someone, right, maybe make a new friend. And so you can make a new friend even with others, right? People that are far away from us. So smiling at people is a good way to break that fear, right? Ethnicity is a huge component to a right view in a physical sense, because we often have certain stereotypes of people. And so this certainly falls under the ideas and concepts and notions, even with others, right? Immigration is a huge topic throughout the world. Every country has immigration of some sort. And we often feel that, or some often feel that these are the others, right? And they come from another country. They behave differently. They cook different foods. They have different smells, different clothing, different, ways of living, different cultures. And so stereotypes can be very negative in understanding who this person is. Because remember, everybody has the same wants and desires, right? To be safe, to be recognized, right? Long life, healthy, and so forth. And so when we view someone's ethnicity or ethnic background with a stereotype, we do more harm than good. And not only do we hurt them, we hurt ourselves. That's important to understand. The thoughts, the ideas, and the notions that we carry have the ability to shape our perception. So we have to understand that our ideas, concepts, and notions, when it comes time to ethnic stereotypes, are they true? Because they're really not, right? People are people, right? We all have those same wants, needs, and desires, and we express them maybe differently, but that doesn't change the basis of who we are. And then sex and gender, right? Someone's sexual, preference or identity, right? Male, female, trans, whatever, right? Again, stereotypes play a lot in that as well, right? For right view. Remember, here in the United States, right? It was up until the beginning of the 1960s, a lot of that dynamic of traditional gender roles changed, right? Where the mother or the wife stayed at home, right? The husband and the father went to work. That's a stereotypical traditional gender role. Some parts of the world, it may be that way still. But when we view gender roles in this sense, are we seeing the person or are we seeing their sexual organs? So we have to understand that, right? Traditional roles, right, can be harmful, right? Same thing for gays and lesbians and transsexuals and non-binaries, right? We may have those stereotypes as well. But again, thinking back, right view, all people are connected. Is my opinion hurtful or harmful of them? If it's hurtful for them, you're not only hurting them, you're hurting yourself. If it's helpful or advantageous or beneficial to them, it's also advantageous and beneficial and helpful for you. So we have to have that right view where we remove those types of concepts. And where do we get them? So we think about those just a little bit. Where do we get them? Right? Is it society, the culture that we live in that promotes them? Is it political? Right? From our parents? Is it, geographic region? Are you in the northern part of a country and southern part of a country? They may think a little bit differently. Who knows? We can understand that as well. Our health. Yeah, thinking about health. You or somebody else, perhaps you have a health condition, right? Those right views. Maybe we think that, I just had this serious. I just had this serious health condition, but I can still do the same things that I used to do when I was young and healthy. Perhaps not, right? An 80-year-old or a 90-year-old or a 100-year-old person is not going to have the same body as they were when they were 10, 15, 20, 30 years old. Our bodies change. And so that's a right view as well. We have limitations as we get older, or as we have arising health conditions. Right? And to not take those into account can hurt us as well as hurting others. So think about if you're a 90-year-old person and perhaps you have trouble going up and down the stairs and you fall. That certainly hurts you, certainly can put your life in jeopardy, but it also hurts others because maybe they have to take time out of their schedule to sit with you, to make sure that you're okay, to nurture you back to health. That's certainly love and compassion, right, towards you. It absolutely is. But it also is something that could have been avoided with your own right view and your own abilities to take care of yourself and types of actions that you can do. Religion. Again, religion is another one that has a lot of stereotypes, right? Maybe somebody views, Hebrew or Jewish with one particular type of view, or Islam, right, with another type of view, Buddhists with another type of view. I'll tell you, when people hear of Buddhism, right, what do they think of? Somebody sitting in a, mountain cave someplace, isolated, right? Doing their chanting and meditations all alone. How far away from the truth is that? There may be some aspects to it where you may go to a retreat and sit by yourself, right? But a lot of religions could do that for that self-reflection, right? Or the idea that perhaps it's a one true religion. That's stereotypical as well, and that is very hurtful. That's why you don't see Buddhists actually, walking around proselytizing, right? Other religions don't proselytize as well, so Catholics don't do that as well. But and there's a reason for that, because it also hurts others who perhaps don't share your same faith or ideas, and so that causes arguments and people to be unhappy. And so, kind of keeping it, to yourself. If somebody else wants to come explore your religion, they will. Right? There's books and synagogues and temples and pagodas and churches and mosques, for people to come visit and learn if they choose. So religion is a personal view as well, right? Something to consider, and being mindful of other people's feelings. And politics. Oh, that's a good one, right? Politics. There are certainly a lot of stereotypes with politics, whether conservative or liberal or communist or anarchist or whatever it is, right? Whatever it is. And again, those are, a lot of stereotypes there as well. And it always seems to come down to good versus bad. And then this is where we can kind of revert back to, the more advanced thoughts, or even the intermediary thoughts of right view, right? aggregates and contamination and so forth, or even no phenomena exists without, others existing. And so the idea of good and bad morality is a different topic, but we can talk about later in a different Dharma talk. But what is good, what is bad, is there? Because morality is something that is certainly not intrinsic to Buddhism. Because what may be good for you or moral for you may not be moral for someone else or another culture, society. So we have to be mindful of that. So kind of in conclusion, though, none of these ideas and concepts and notions are intrinsic, okay, to being, right, to the particular being like you. They're not intrinsic. You weren't born with them, right? You weren't born, with a certain viewpoint. You're certainly born in your type of body, absolutely, right? But a lot of the ideas that we hold, again, they were given to us by either experience or someone else. And they can certainly, absolutely, right, cloud our right view. But when we remove that physical body, so try this, think about this. When we remove the physical body, right, in those conditions that we exist in, male, female, tall, short, gay, straight, lesbian, straight, conservative, liberal, whatever it is, right? When we remove those conditions, you're only left with the spirit, the soul, perhaps, if that's what you like to call it, or your consciousness that still exists, right? You can remove all of your physical body, all of what you see in the mirror, all of your thoughts, right? Remove all of those. And what is left is your consciousness that still exists. And this, right? Upon your death, when you are rebirthed, it simply goes into another being, right? Completely different than the one you are physically here today. You see me right now, right? In my next life, I could be a female, right? I could be a black female from Africa or wherever, right? Or I could be an Asian person, right? Wherever. I could be a dog. Who knows if I had a bad life, right? Who knows? My consciousness just simply goes into something that's completely different. Yours will too, right? And before you are the person that you see today in the mirror, you were something else. So all those ideas and concepts and notions that we consider, right? They go out the window. They're gone, right? And then when you are rebirthed, you're introduced to something else, right? Maybe it's the complete opposite of what you view today. So what does that take us? What do we think about in this point? That certainly leaves us no time, right? No time or need for hatred or bigotry and jealousy and all that pettiness that we see going on in the world. Because what we see today can be gone. And then our next life, something else. Maybe you're on the other side of that fence. Maybe the group of people that you perhaps totally despise, have negative views of, maybe in your next life, you're on the other side, right? And so all the hatred and bigotry and the jealousy that people demonstrate and display towards one another, those are absolutely wrong views, not to mention wrong actions as well, right? Because remembering that right views are the ones that promote loving kindness towards all living beings without exception. All living beings. Because all living beings have the same wants and needs and desires as you do. Love, acceptance, safety, peace, health, prosperity. So it's important to practice right view so that we can all live with peace and understanding. It's not to say there won't be some conflicts here and there, some disagreements, but there's no reason for them to ever get violent. So when we have right view, we have understanding towards others and towards ourselves. All right. Well, our next talk right, will be, I see I'm a little bit over, but that's okay. This is an important topic, so we can go over. Our next topic will be on the 4th, August 4th. I don't have a particular topic lined up just yet. If you have anything, any suggestions, certainly feel free to put it into the chat or an email or the message on our channel or Facebook channel if you like. And we'll take it into consideration. We'll write up about it and present on it. So we will see you on the 4th, right? August 4th, still at 6 p.m. Central Time. And with that, my friends, may Buddha bless you along your journeys. May your life be filled with happiness and joy and long life and prosperity. Take care, my friends.